Hi, welcome to Crafted Sweetly. I'm Diana. Thanks so much for being here. In this video, I wanted to show you how to make these flowers. I'm not sure I'm going to do all of them, but once you kind of have the technique down, you can certainly come up with other designs, other flowers as well. I made this video a while ago, and the focus of that video was on the vase itself. It's a paperback that I turned into a vase using the photo book art for adding the pattern to the side of it. So for this, we'll focus on this part of it. All right, I'll set that aside. And to create those flowers, I used crepe paper. Crepe paper comes in different qualities, as probably most everything else. I have one kind here. So this is, and obviously, you know, the more expensive is going to be better quality. So let me grab one of these out. Actually, let me grab the green. I'll need this eventually. So these are much bigger, much longer rolls of the crepe paper. And then I also have these, which are by Leah Griffith. And these are really top quality papers, crepe papers. You can even feel it. It's just a thicker paper. And I believe you can get it even thicker than this, but this works for my purposes. So this is a pack that has a bunch of different colors in it. Oh, here we go. It says heavy crepe paper. So you can get it in a lighter version and from her brand as well. But I have this one that I'll use for the leaves, which I'll set aside for the moment because I don't need that. All right, so I'll put that down, and then I wanted to show you all the supplies basically before I get right into it. I have the crepe paper of the two kinds. I only have the light one for the green. And then I'm using floral wire. This was actually from my pastry cake decorating days. I have Sugarcraft covered wire in white. You could use green, it doesn't matter. And then I have a thinner wire. This is a 26 gauge, and this is a 33 gauge. And I have styrofoam ball. I use that for the center, and I'm using this size, but I have different sizes. You can make like little petite ones if you wanted to, like this. I'm just gonna use one of these for the demo part. Scissors. Then I'm also using some cardstock for the stamens. I have yellow for one of them. I'll show you what I'm doing. And then I also have black if you're doing like black stamens, which I did in this one right here, where it had the white on the outside. I mean the black. And then I have a glue gun, which more than likely I'll probably get burned. I always do when I use a glue gun, so I'm never a fan of them, but I have my glue gun. All right, so to get started, let's start with the center part on one of the flowers here. So the crepe paper has, if you can see the texture on it, right there, kind of a grain that goes this way. So whenever you're cutting petals, you want to make sure that the grain goes up and down on the petal versus this way. Like you wouldn't want to cut it this way because you're not going to be able to expand the petal. And you'll see what I mean in a second with that. If you cut it the other way, then you're going to have a hard time, or it's not even really going to work for you to expand it properly. All right, so I'll cut a couple more petals because I'm going to cover this to make that little poppy one that I did, the little poppy flower. So I folded this over just so I don't have to cut it so many times, and you can use templates if you'd like. I'll try and link below some templates for petals if you're not comfortable cutting them freehand. And let me do this where I'll cut the whole strip. But I'll usually fold this over multiple times. That way I only have to cut the petal, or I'm able to cut multiple petals at once. And then I will cut this into the size of the petal that I wanted. So let's say it's this. Okay. And let's see if I can get 5 out of here. Got more. Okay, so I cut it this way, and then what I want to do is I want to form a petals, which is round. So I'll trim it this way to form the petal, and then kind of curve this side. Again, you can use a template if you'd like to create the petal. I'm kind of doing it freehand to shape this. You really won't be able to tell the imperfections once I cut through. And this way I have two different petals. And this one, for this one, I did a little bit of a wave up here because I wanted to create more of a frilly look to the design. All right, the little ball rolled away. So let me cut one more here, and I'll show you the. Is this warming up? Okay. Turn on the heat gun so that it's ready. And you can see I'm sort of shaping it round like a petal would be. And right there. Okay, so that's the base of it. Okay, so I'll use these two small ones to kind of wrap around this. This part I don't need. You could actually use, like I did, one flower here. If you can kind of see it in the middle. Let me see if you can see it. Right there. I basically took some of the crepe paper and I chopped it really fine and put it at the bottom of it, so it looked like pollen under at the bottom of the, or at, right in the center of the flower. So you could take this and chop it really fine and then sprinkle it over the glue. But for this one, what I'll do is I'll cover it with the crepe paper. Once you have the petal, because this expands almost like an accordion, you can pull it open and shape it. So I'm using my fingers to shape it, to cup it in a sense. So as you can see now, it looks like a cup and it holds its shape. This is the better quality crepe paper. It's heavier. So you're just expanding it in the middle. I'm not doing the top or the bottom. The bottom I want it to be kind of scrunched together, because once I put this on here, as you can see, it folds nicely along this, along the styrofoam ball. Okay, so I'll do that. I'll probably need to do 3 of them. Okay, same thing. You know, it's gonna go like this. And then the next one, and I'll glue these over. So I'm gonna do one more, so that you can't really see the styrofoam once this is completed. See, I have 3 nice petals for the center. All right, let's see if the glue gun is not quite there yet. So in the meantime, I'll cut a few more petals. Let me stack these. That's definitely the one thing you want to remember, is to make sure that you cut these with the grain, the length of the petal. And if you want to work around the bigger styrofoam ball, you're going to cut these petals larger because you have larger petals that you need. Okay, so that's my petals. I will keep these 3 as the center, and then while that heat gun is warming up, I will shape these. And I'm just using the tip of my finger to go in to separate the creases inside the crepe paper, right just down the middle. Again, I don't want to expand this part too much. And then once these are expanded in the middle, because they're going around the ball, you can expand this part at the top to shape the petal, which is a curl in that direction. So that's another option where you're expanding one side of it. You could also take wooden dowel rod like this, and use that to curl it. So if you don't feel comfortable or it's not quite working out, you can take a dowel rod and shape it around the dowel rod to give it that curl that you often see with, and you can do one side or you can do both sides, you know, because with roses, for example, the petals kind of curl out in all directions. Okay, so I've added these. I have my petals here. How many do I have? So I'll do these 3 around the center, and then I have 2, 4, 6, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 more. Okay, perfect. So this is gonna get wrapped around the ball. So I'll add glue to the center here. And these first ones, it's just getting the styrofoam covered. This side I'm leaving a little bit open because I'm gonna tuck that last petal in there. And it is pretty warm, pretty hot, I should say. So if you hear me scream, it's because the glue got me, which it usually does. And if you need to cover this, like if you still can see the styrofoam, you could always just take one of these scraps of crepe paper, which that one does not want to cooperate, and you could kind of cover it like this because you really can't see the center. So let's see, let's do this. I'm going to take a little piece, expand it, and I'm going to add just a little bit of glue right at the top here. And that will cover the styrofoam. It's almost like another petal. And then I just still need to do this one. And then this last petal, as I mentioned, I'm going to tuck inside of here. Okay, kind of all bunched up. As you can see, it looks like a bud. Okay, and at the bottom, because you're going to want to have a stem for this, you can add one of the wires right from the beginning, like this in here. Or you can just wait until closer to the end when you have it done and then add it at that point. And this is a fairly, there we go. So for this, I'll add a little bit of glue to it. I took a little bit of hot glue and I'm gluing this right inside the styrofoam. That way I have the stem. You could make this a little bit heavier if you want to make sure it holds, but it's holding up fine right now. And I will add some floral tape to this so that this is gonna be green once I'm done with it. So that's my first round of flowers. Now, same thing, we're repeating the same process with these flowers. We're just gonna keep working our flowers out this way. And you can use the stick if you need to, which, what did I do with it? Here we go. You can use this to shape the petals this way if you want. So I'll just keep adding petals now. And now it's just shaping these petals so that you have a little bit more dimension to them. Oh, this petal got a little turned. Let me add a little more here. So I have my flower. Now I am going to shape, like I said, these petals a little more so that it's not so bunched together. See if that even just that little curl opened them up a little more. So that's my flower there. And I'm trying to see which one, like this up here that I did. Same idea. I may have used a slightly smaller ball here, but the same idea applies. Or this one here. Whoops, right there. Okay, so that's that flower. Now if you wanted to add the stamens like this, I use the ball in the middle, and then like this one right here, I used the ball in the middle and then glued the shredded leftover paper like this. I created the stamens on there by using cardstock, and for that I cut a strip depending on how big the flower is. Let's say like this is what I used, and then this I'm cutting really fine along the length of it. So I'm taking the cardstock and cutting this not all the way down because I want to have a band that's solid, but I'm going to cut this really thin like this. I am basically shredding this cardstock strip and almost shaving it. See, you can really tell that it's this how thin the strips are. I'll try and zoom in on it so you can see. But I'm making really tiny, like seriously, like I'm just shredding the paper, shaving it I should say, where it's not actual wide strips. It creates this effect right there. And once I do this whole thing, which takes a little bit of time just because you can't rush with it. Let me make it a little shorter so I don't spend all that time with shredding it. Once you trim this all the way to the edge, and some you will cut and actually cut off, and others will be a little thicker. That's fine. It's impossible when you're doing it by hand for every single shred to be the same width. Okay, so let's assume it's right there. Okay, so now these are gonna be the stamens, and what I do is this has to be curled. So I'm going to use my scissors to, almost like when you're curling ribbon, I'm doing that to the cardstock because I want to break down the fibers so that it curls nicely. Because if I try and curl it where it's still stiff, then you're just getting folds as opposed to a nice curled shape to it. Like this. So when you do the curling ribbon, you know how you're kind of getting everything curled up? It's the same idea, but with the cardstock. So you can see that it formed a nice ball to it. So now this, if you're doing it like I did for this flower, then this would need to be longer so you can wrap it around the ball. Or if you're doing something like this in a different color, which is more like a carnation, right there, then you would just take this and wrap it around itself. So you're just kind of rolling it all up like this. If it was a different color, and you can kind of go with your fingers along the tops to separate it out a little more. But if you're doing it around the styrofoam, so let's assume this is, let's cover it this way. So we'll do this, put it in here. So this will be wrapped in I knew the glue would get me. Okay, so I wrapped the ball in this, and now this goes around here. So I did make it. Okay, it's wide enough for that. Okay, so what I'll do is I will add glue here now. And I'm going to wrap this around the ball. So I want the nice smooth part to be right at the top. And I'm going to place it like this and just wrap this around this way. I'm going to wait for a second for it to dry. And then you would add the stem here. Okay, and now this part you can just shape out this way. And that's what I glued all the little scraps of crepe paper. And after this, I just added the petals around like this. The same idea, kind of gluing them individually around. So let's do, I'm just gonna do a couple of these petals. See, it stretches nicely this way. And you would just add this to the edge here. So let's see, how do I have 3 petals? Do I have 4? Just 3. Stretch them out. I'll just do 3 petals around just so you can see that part. And I do this one, I stretched out a little more because I was trying to, but you can fold it like this. See, like that. Whoops. And then glue it on. So let's add some glue. And this will be a pink poppy. So you could do a whole other layer around this if you choose to. So let me curl it again a little bit down. Okay, so this is what you could add another whole other layer to this if you wanted to, which is what I did with the other flower. But that would give you more, you know, sort of frill around the outside of it. Okay, so that's adding the stamens around this way. And you could make different colored carnations with the cardstock if you wanted to create this effect. Okay, and then for the leaves, it's the same idea. I'm cutting the leaf as a long piece. So same thing, you would kind of add the crepe paper, layer it so that you can create multiple leaves at the same time. And then what I did for this here, as you can see, the stem is on, I added 3 leaves for here, and I used the thinner wire, and then you just wrap it around this way. So you could stretch this. Okay, and then you would attach this to the flower, which I keep losing. Okay, so at this point, you would add some floral wire to this and then glue them together. So there's your crepe flower, like this. Now roses have a different shaped leaf than this. It's more rounded, or you know, not this long. This looks more like a lily of the valley type of leaf. But that's how you create the leaves, and then I attach them separately and then put them together. Alright, so I hope this video was helpful in showing you kind of how I made the flowers for this book fold. Again, the poppy, I just did a pink one, same idea, but with the pink crepe paper. And then this one, which is more like a daffodil, I did the center part kind of that shredded look to it. But for this I use, because it's softer, I use the crepe paper for here instead of cardstock. And then the leaves, the petals around it. Okay. If you have any questions, please comment below. I'll link below all the various products that I use to create those flowers. And if you have any questions, again, comment below or join my Facebook group and post your questions there. I'm always happy to help and answer questions. And I hope you make some of these flowers and then post your projects and show me what you did. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next project.